Hello, I'm Phoebe Boucher, managing editor at Raven Chronicles Press. Raven is a Northwest literary organization that's been around since 1991 in Seattle. This is a years-long series, Raven Chronicles Banned Books Project. Raven will be posting on our YouTube channel episodes of writers reading excerpts from banned books that are either meaningful to them or are of historical or literary importance. Today we have Banned Books episode number 11 with Sibyl James. Sibyl is the author of 14 books, poetry, fiction, and travel memoirs, including In China with Harpo and Carl from Calyx Press, books, The Adventures of Stout Mama, Paper Mache Press. That was a big hit when it first came out, I remember. China Beats, Egress Studio Press, and most recently, The Mothers of Invention, which is a children's book from Calyx, and Plum Blossom Wine, recently from Empty Bowl Press. As a writer in residence, she has worked for the Washington State Arts Commission, the Seattle Arts Commission, Seattle Arts and Lectures, and the Seattle School District. Her writing has received awards from Artist Trust and the Seattle, King County, and Washington State's Arts Commission. Sibyl lives in Seattle, and Sibyl, take it away.
Thanks, Phoebe, and thank you for doing this whole series. It's that kind of time when we need to resist. So I'm actually going to read from a big resistor. For this reading, I chose Mahmoud Darwish, a poet who's been regarded as a voice for Palestine. His work has been banned in Israel and Syria, beginning when he was 12 and asked by his school to write a poem about the establishment of the State of Israel. He wrote a poem in the voice of an Arab boy speaking to a Jewish boy about the status of Arabs in Israel. The Israeli authorities were not happy with what this poem had to say. If the Americans who insist on banning books had ever heard of Palestinian Mahmoud Darwish, I'm sure they would ban him. But like all things and people Palestinian, most Americans know little about them and mostly nothing that is true. I'm going to read from a selection from the Journal of an Ordinary Grief in a translation by my friend Ibrahim Muhawi, who actually has a passport that says Palestine because he was born there before the Nakba or catastrophe of 1948. The original book in Arabic was published in 1973. So when Darwish in this piece writes about 4 years of attack, he is speaking about the time around the Israeli war on Palestine in 1967. Translator Muhaw writes in the book's foreword that Darwish has made an identity between himself and his country. The pronoun I can refer to the poet as an individual, but can also stand for the Palestinian people as a whole. Silence for the sake of Gaza. She wraps explosives around her waist and blows herself up. It is not a death and not a suicide. It is Gaza's way of declaring she is worthy of life. For 4 years, Gaza's flesh has been torn into shrapnel, flying in all directions. It is not magic, and it is not a miracle. It is Gaza's weapon for defending herself and exhausting the enemy. For 4 years, the enemy had been delighted with his dreams, fascinated by his dalliance with time, except in Gaza. Because Gaza is far from her kin and sits right up against the enemy. Because Gaza is an island every time she erupts, and she is always erupting. She lacerates the face of the enemy, breaks up his dreams, and obstructs his contentment with time. Because time in Gaza is something else. Time in Gaza is not a neutral element. Gaza does not propel people to cool contemplation. Rather, she propels them to erupt and collide with the truth. Time there does not lead children directly from childhood to old age, but it does make men of them upon the first encounter with the enemy. Time in Gaza does not allow you to let go. Rather, it is an attack upon a blistering noon because values in Gaza are different, different, different. The only values that an occupied person can espouse are those of resistance to occupation. This is the only competition there. Familiarity with these noble and hard values has become a need in Gaza. Her people did not acquire this need from books or from brief academic courses or from trumpets blaring propaganda or from patriotic songs. Only from experience did Gaza learn these values, and from actions not performed for the sake of one's image or self-promotion. Gaza does not show off her weapons, her revolutionary zeal, or her balance sheet. She offers her bitter flesh, follows her own will, and pours out her blood. Gaza has not mastered the orator's art. Gaza does not have a throat. The pores of her skin speak in sweat, blood, and fire. As a result, the enemy hates her enough to kill, is afraid enough to commit crimes, and tries to sink her in the sea, in the desert, or in blood. Therefore, her friends and relations love her with a feeling of shame that touches on jealousy or even fear sometimes, because Gaza is this savage lesson and radiant model for enemies and friends alike. Gaza is not the most beautiful of cities. Her coast is not bluer than those of other Arab cities. Her oranges are not the best in the Mediterranean. Gaza is not the richest of cities. Fish and oranges and sand and tents forsaken by the wind, smuggled goods, and hands for hire. And Gaza is not the most polished of cities or the largest, but she is equivalent to the history of a nation because she is the most repulsive among us in the eyes of the enemy, the poorest, the most desperate, and the most ferocious. Because she is a nightmare, because she is oranges that explode, children without a childhood, or aged men without an old age, and women without desire. Because she is all that, she is the most beautiful among us, the purest, the richest, and most worthy of love. We are unfair to her when we search for her poems. Let us not disfigure the beauty of Gaza. The most beautiful thing in her is that she is free of poetry at a time when the rest of us tried to gain victory with poems. We believed ourselves and rejoiced when we saw that the enemy had left us alone to sing our songs while we left victory for him. When we dried the poems from our lips, we saw that the enemy had already built entire cities, forts, and highways. It would be unfair to turn Gaza into a legend because we will end up hating her when we discover she is nothing more than a small, poor city that resists. And when we ask, what has made her into a legend, we will have to break our mirrors and cry if we have any dignity, or curse her if we refuse to rebel against ourselves. It would be unfair to Gaza to glorify her because our fascination will make us wait for her. But Gaza will not come to us. Gaza will not liberate us. Gaza does not have horses or jet fighters or magic wands or offices in capitals. Gaza frees herself of our attributes, our language, and of her conquerors all at once. And when we run into her once upon a dream, she may not recognize us because she was born of fire while we were born of waiting and crying over our homes. True, Gaza has her special circumstances and her own revolutionary traditions. We say this not to dissect, but to disintegrate. The secret of Gaza is no mystery. Her masses are united in popular resistance. She knows what she wants: to drive the enemy out of her hair. In Gaza, the relation between resistance and the masses is that of the flesh to the bone, and not that of the teacher to the student. In Gaza, resistance has not become a salaried position. And in Gaza, resistance has not become an institution. She does not accept supervision from anyone, and she does not allow her destiny to hang on anyone's stamp or signature. It does not matter to her very much whether or not we know her name or recognize her image or oratorical skills. She does not believe she is photogenic or a media event. She does not make ready for the camera with a smile plastered on her face. That is not what she wants, and not what we want. Gaza's wound has not been changed into a platform for orators. What is beautiful about Gaza is that we do not discuss her much, and we do not perfume the smoke of her dreams with the feminine fragrance of our lyrics. Thus, Gaza would make a losing bet for the bookies. And for this very reason, Gaza is a moral and spiritual treasure of incalculable worth for all Arabs. What is beautiful about Gaza is that our voices do not reach her. Nothing diverts her attention. Nothing turns her fist away from the face of the enemy, not the kind of Palestinian state that we will establish on the eastern side of the moon or the western side of Jupiter after it has been mapped, or the distribution of seats in the Palestine National Council. Nothing diverts her attention. She is dedicated to rejection, hunger and rejection, thirst and rejection, dispersion and rejection, torture and rejection, siege and rejection, death and rejection. The enemy may defeat Gaza. The stormy sea might overwhelm a small island. They might cut down all her trees. They might break her bones. They might plant their tanks in the bellies of her women and children, or they might toss her into the sand, into the sea, into blood. But Gaza will not repeat the lies. Gaza will not say yes to the conquerors, and she will continue to erupt. It is not death, and it is not suicide. It is Gaza's way of announcing she is worthy of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sibyl. A lot of things said about Gaza that, we haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah. I got my morning voice.
Yeah, well, mine's like that too.
Hopefully it came off okay.
Oh, no, it did. Yeah, and I could
Okay.
hear almost every word was enunciated. It's hard on Zoom. Everybody's Zoom is different. resistance is not an institution, that's for sure. For people in Gaza, it's more like mother's milk, and when you're born with the author of this work is dead now, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. When
Yeah, I think I looked it up last night. I think it was 2008.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize he'd been gone that long.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's funny when Judith Roche was still the
Right.
head of
Uh-huh.
literature for
Uh,
Bumbershoot.
yeah.
We tried to bring Darwish
Oh, really?
because my friend Ibrahim is good
Right.
friends with him and it's his
Right.
translator. And so we were getting Ibrahim to call Darwish and see if
Hmm.
he would come. And then the powers that be at Bumbershoot said, well, we have to have an Israeli too then.
Oh, really? I wonder what year that would have been because, it's been so long
Oh,
now.
I know. Let's see. I can tell you, I think. Um, it was not too long after I came back from Tunisia. So that would have been in the 90s.
Oh, okay. 1990s. Yeah, yeah, because I don't think Bumbershoot went, I just remember in the late 1980s. And then I don't know when was the last time we had a great literary festival, but, it's been a long time. So,
Yeah. No, it was sometime in the 90s.
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That I don't remember them ever being that politically correct, though, as far as Bumbershoot, and especially in the 90s, you know.
Well, I know, but
Yeah,
the Israel is the exception beyond the exception beyond the
I
exception.
know.
You know, I mean,
I
nobody
know.
would ever say, "Oh, there's an Israeli poet reading. We have to have a Palestinian."
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I
So,
understand the whole thing, but this is totally different. And the fact that not every single one of those so-called Christian congressmen are not not speaking out about genocide in Gaza is
oh,
beyond. How could they call themselves Christians? You know,
oh, I know, I
it's
know, and it doesn't even make the news anymore.
no, it doesn't. That's the horror. I mean,
I
they're
know.
they're just wiping out the whole,
It's
where are
just
they supposed to be? I don't know. Where are they going to go? Because I haven't seen Saudi Arabia or anybody else stand up for the Palestinians all that much.
no, everybody's throwing them under the
Yeah,
bus.
everybody. Why?
To
Because Trump
Totally.
supports Saudi Arabia. It's going to give them money to buy luxury hotels. Who knows? I don't get it.
No,
I do not get
no. And the thing is, I don't think the Palestinians will leave. I
it.
mean, all the Palestinians that I know, it's this,
They won't leave.
yeah, it's this thing about the land. And
The land that's been totally destroyed. I mean, how are they going to?
right, but it's this, I mean, I don't feel that way because I hate this country, so I don't,
Yeah, right.
but boy, I mean, they still carry around those big keys to their destroyed houses and all this,
Wow.
you know.
Wow.
So
You haven't been
I,
there
I
before, have you? Have you ever been there to Palestine or to
no, I haven't
Gaza,
been there.
West Bank or whatever? No.
No, I
Oh.
haven't been there, but when I was teaching in Tunisia, there were
Hmm.
lots of well, even Arafat was there. They were
Oh.
the PLO was in exile in Tunis,
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
right?
Yeah.
And and that's how I got to know a lot of people and learn more about, oh my
Right.
God, what goes on.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I've been doing all these Palestinian informational and protest and all these kinds of
Right.
things.
Yeah.
In fact, a bunch of us used to stand down at Westlake and hand out
Oh, really?
information.
Yeah.
And this Palestinian couple brought their kids with them when they did it.
Oh,
And their oldest daughter is now a spokesperson at the university for the Palestinian student movement. I mean, that's
at
how long.
University of Washington? University of Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
So,
hope she doesn't get deported.
I told her it's all those days of standing in the rain at the website. It made you brave
Yeah.
to do things, but
Yeah, well, it's pretty hopeless. Anyway, I appreciate you sharing this with us today, Sybil, and I'll be posting it right away.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I hope they give you some nice
Oh,
cooling.
I don't know what's going to happen to my eyes. Anyway, it's been a bad month for me health-wise, but anyway,
Oh,
I will talk to you soon.
okay. Thanks, Phoebe.
Bye. Great to see you. Mm.
Oops.